Roddy crossed over, and when he opened his eyes, he found himself at the scene of the black eating black loot. He thought he was a robber and immediately chose to spend millions of dollars on his own. Unexpectedly, just now when his twin brother appeared and said he was an undercover agent arranged by himself, he went numb. Before he could react, his brother wanted to assassinate him. He had no choice but to kill his twin brother and steal his police position, property, and wife with a 100% similarity in appearance. He changed the sky and had a nemesis system. He was prepared to be a good person, determined to fight against evil, but he didn't expect himself to be evilRoddy. I really want to be a good person. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Black at the beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In 2001, outside Los Angeles. An exaggerated laughter echoed from a remote house. Haha, we really got rich this time. $10 million, I've made a fortune. With so much money, how many girls can I sleep with? A group of robbers who had just robbed a cash truck greedily looked at the table of beautiful knives, smelled the tempting smell of money, took deep breaths of obsession, and even took a few big gulps of marijuana. At the door, Roddy, who had just crossed over, looked bewildered and only had 3 questions from the depths of his soul in his mind. Who am I? Where am I? What am I going to do? I just knocked out a small tribe and called out 2 ocean horses. I was about to have a good night, but why did I wake up completely different when I got drunk? Where is my ocean horse? Damn it. A group of mediocre people, just $10 million is enough. We're still young, how can $10 million be enough? 100 million is barely enough. Look at Roddy, how calm he is. Don't even step on his horse and go crazy. Divide the money and withdraw immediately. Wait for the storm to calm down before coming out to work. One of them sat on the sofa, a muscular bald man with a fierce expression, angrily scolded. The crowd finally calmed down a bit and looked at the young man standing at the door, who seemed to be on guard. The young man is in his early 20s, about 1.85 meters tall, with a wide body, concise short hair, and an exceptionally masculine and handsome appearance. At this moment, Roddy gradually regained consciousness from his confusion. In his past life, he was an orphan and a mercenary wandering in Africa. As long as he paid, he would do anything. He would fight this tribe today and a warlord tomorrow. Having been a mercenary for over a decade, many of those who joined the industry have already died on the battlefield. However, due to his good marksmanship and agile mind, he surprisingly did not suffer serious injuries. Before crossing over, they had just destroyed a small tribe and were about to enjoy themselves. Before they could even start enjoying themselves, they crossed over. Roddy is not resistant to crossing over. Those days spent in Africa, although not lacking in money or women, were uncertain and died at any moment. Unfortunately, those 2 ocean horses, one of whom looks like Sophie Marceau, gave me all the money, at least it made me feel comfortable to travel again. Calm down, Roddy looked back at the memories in his mind, only to find that they were very incomplete, just fragments. He vaguely remembered that he and these people robbed the cash truck together, preparing to share the spoils. Damn it. Roddy cursed inwardly. In my past life, I was a mercenary who could do anything with money, but when I crossed over, I turned into a robber. Why do I want to be a good person so hard? Okay, after doing this one, I won't do it anymore. 6 people, $10 million. It's not too much for me to split it into 1 or 2 million, right? At this moment, the bald leader began to share the spoils and said casually, I put in the most effort this time, getting 4 million. Do you have any objections? No problem. Everyone agreed in unison. Jack was responsible for buying all the guns, and he killed the most police officers. He divided it into 2 million, is that okay? Obviously, everyone had objections, but due to the prestige of bald heads, no one spoke in the end. Quickly, the 5 of them finished dividing the spoils and gave Roddy a bald glance, saying, "The remaining 5,000,000 will belong to you. 5,000,000, just give me 5,000,000. Roddy was stunned for a moment, and anger surged in his heart. "Give me 500,000 out of 10 million, how about sending beggars? What? Are you satisfied with riding a horse?" With a bald head and a backhand, he threw the marijuana in his hand onto Roddy's face. He is already a person with a hot temper and hates others not listening to him the most. Roddy wiped his face expressionlessly, and a smile curved from the corner of his mouth. "Do you know that Roddy and poison are incompatible?" Before he could finish speaking, Roddy pulled out his gun and pulled the trigger at the bald head. Bang bang. With a bald head and a lot of blood splattering on his chest, he stared at Roddy incredulously, his mouth wide open, wanting to say something. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood and smashed it onto the ground. He never dreamed that 4 million would be handed over soon, and he would die at the hands of his henchmen. Everyone else was stunned, completely unaware that Roddy would shoot Big Brother. "Damn it. Roddy, how dare you shoot? You want to eat black. You're crazy." For a moment, the remaining 4 people were both shocked and angry. However, they had just focused on sharing the spoils, and their guns were casually thrown aside. The time they reached out to get the guns was enough for Roddy to shoot and kill them. Bang bang bang. Roddy was too lazy to talk nonsense. He made it to the top 4 in a row and worked as a mercenary for over a decade. He still had some marksmanship, and even so close, he instantly cleared his magazine and sent the 4 of them to the underworld. The room suddenly quieted down, with 5 corpses lying in disarray, either shot in the chest or shot in the head, all dead with their eyes closed, blood slowly flowing and soaking the ground. "Brain disabled, I'm just not satisfied. How about that? Damn it, I almost threw marijuana into my mouth. Don't you know that I hate drugs the most?" Roddy spat heavily at the bald body, his tone disdainful. "I have been a mercenary for over a decade, doing everything with money. The moral bottom line is not high, and if we really give him 1 or 2 million points, it's okay. If we give him 500,000 points, I will just eat black and eat black. Isn't it good for him to take 10 million points alone? Divide with you. Do you guys match? Ding. Sin killer system activated, host. Roddy, level 3, 0/400, kill 5 robbers, experience points plus 300, level plus 2, attribute points plus 2, skill points plus 2. Chapter 2. Anti-kill twin brothers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Damn it. System. Seeing the panel in front of him, Roddy was even more shocked than he had traveled. Power. 11, agile. 9, spiritual power. 10, endurance. 9. The average human value for all attributes is 10, skills. Firearm shooting. LV2, driving. LV2, swimming and diving. LV1, forced confession. LV2, sexual activity. LV3. Attribute point. 2, skill point. 2, shaking his head, every time the panel disappeared, Roddy gasped for breath. Is this actually true? He thought for a moment, when the panel was small, then thought for another moment, and the panel appeared. Developed. Roddy clenched his fists heavily. Without a research system, the top priority is to destroy the body and wipe it out. He is afraid of long dreams at night. Move the 3 large bags of Maydow, weighing over 200 pounds, onto the car, and then light the wooden house with a torch. At least it's a brotherly scene, and if you kill someone, you have to help with the aftermath. Cremation is the most convenient. Unfortunately, Big Brother doesn't have a sister.in.law, otherwise he could help take care of it. Seeing the raging fire ignite, Roddy was about to leave when he glanced in the rearview mirror and was shocked again. So handsome. Still a mixed race. Looking at his handsome and masculine face, Roddy felt a bit speechless. What kind of robber are you? Being a duck is much more promising than being a robber. Having been a mercenary for over a decade, Roddy knows very well that life is not easy when his head is tied to his belt, and he doesn't know if there will be a tomorrow after today. In his past life, he didn't know what to do except as a mercenary, which was why he was deeply mired in the quagmire. I just hope that a big fire can eliminate all the evidence, otherwise I will have to risk leaving America. At this moment, with a beep on the phone, I took out my phone and saw a text message. I'll be there soon. Roddy frowned slightly and felt a movement in his heart. Could it be that his predecessor had already agreed to go black with someone? If that's the case, this person must solve it. We also need to figure out how many people went black with his predecessor. I found a place to hide, and in less than 5 minutes, there was a faint rustling sound on the leaves in the jungle. Soon, a figure appeared in front of Roddy. Don't move. A gun was pressed against the back of his head. Roddy. The voice of the visitor looked at the raging fire and was very angry. Suddenly, he turned around and saw a face exactly like Roddy's. Looking at this face, Roddy was surprised. Previously, there was actually a twin brother. Should we kill or not? Roche, however, was unaware of the many thoughts in Roddy's mind. He frowned and said, "Didn't I warn you before? If I don't arrive, don't you do anything. Why is it so impulsive? What if something unexpected happens?" "No surprise, I killed them all," Roddy said calmly as he put down his pistol and inserted it back into his waist. Roche's gaze flickered and he said, "Are you sure you're all dead? Where's the money?" "All in the car." Sneer an electric stick clung to Roddy's waist, causing him to blacken out and fall into a coma. I don't know how long it took before Roddy woke up, his mind tingling with pain, and he found himself lying in a big pit. More incomplete memories surged up in my mind. He only then realized that he had capsized in his sewer. Although my predecessor and brother were twins, their life paths were completely different. A gangster with bad behavior. One becomes a police officer, a deputy captain at a young age, and marries by fume. As long as one goes further to become a captain, it becomes the management team, which can be said to have a bright future. It can be said that if it weren't for his brother constantly wiping his butt, sheltering him, and his bad behavior, he would have been imprisoned long ago. So although my predecessor was a thug, I have always been grateful to my brother. He just didn't know that having the same face as his brother had long been a stumbling block on his brother's path forward. Not long ago, Rocky received intelligence from an informant that a group of bandits wanted to rob a cash truck. So he called his predecessor Roddy and let him in, promising that as long as his predecessor helped him solve a big case and promoted him to captain, he would help him enter the management team of his father-in-law's company. My predecessor was deceived like this. I won't feel cold just after crossing, can't I? I can't just sit and wait for death. Still keeping a hand with me. Feeling the silhouette of his pants, Roddy knew that the small knife he had found in the cabin was still there. His bound arm struggled to reach into his pocket, and his skin was scratched by hemp rope without feeling any pain. Take out a small knife. Because my wrist was tied and unable to move, I had to hold the small knife in my hand and slowly cut it. The small knife is not very sharp and cuts slowly. Hurry up. Hurry up. Roddy roared in his heart. At this time, Roach appeared next to the pit from a high position, holding a shovel in his hand, looking cold, and looking at the twin brother, his eyes were full of disgust. This is the burial ground I have prepared for you. Roddy asked, is this what you had planned for a long time? Not bad, I have already planned it. Roche crouched down and sneered coldly, do you know that I've been enduring you for a long time? Seeing you dying makes me so happy." He seemed to be looking at an enemy, trying to vent everyone's resentment before their death. "My original plan was to go black with you and then kill you, blaming everything on you. Everyone would think it was you who went black and disappeared with money. I didn't expect you to help me handle everything and just wait for me to make you disappear. Don't worry, everyone knows how much I protected you in the past and won't suspect me of killing you. I'll take this $10 million knife for you." Roche had never felt such a sense of satisfaction before. The fool who hindered his progress was finally disappearing, and no one could criticize him again from then on. "No need, I'll just take it myself." As soon as he finished speaking, Roddy suddenly looked up and said something. Rocky was stunned for a moment, but before he could react, Roddy jumped up and a cold light flashed through his throat with a small knife. Puzzy. Blood splattered everywhere, splashing onto Roddy and Rocky. Roche only felt a pain in his throat and instinctively raised his hand to cover his neck. Blood still flowed out of his fingers, and his strength quickly dissipated with the blood. Ha! Ha! His eyes were full of unwillingness, and he reached out as if trying to seize the vitality, but he couldn't hold on to anything and fell to the ground. Roddy crawled out of the pit and walked up to Raj, squatting beside him. Looking at his desperate face, he spoke with a set of boxing techniques that even the Emperor of the Wild could not accept. "Damn it, am I your younger brother? You can even take action. Are you human? Putting aside the facts, even if I make 99% mistakes, don't you have even the slightest mistake? I just made a little mistake, can't you be more magnanimous? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Blame sister.in.law for being too charming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He. You. With only one breath left, Rocky was forced by Roddy to almost recover from his injury and jumped up to strangle him to death. Unfortunately, the injury was too severe, and he could only spit out a word, his eyes wide open as if he wanted to kill him with his gaze. He doesn't regret killing someone, he just regrets talking too much and giving Roddy time to sneak attack. Why, you still want to kill me? Come on, do you have that ability? Watching Roche's extremely angry yet helpless appearance, Roddy chuckled and quickly leaned over. Brother, we have the same face. If you die, I will be you. Your wife, I will take care of her. Roche instantly realized what Roddy wanted to do and spat out a large mouthful of blood again. He and Roddy are not just twins, but also identical twins. The appearance is the appearance, and the deep-level DNA is the same. That is to say, Roddy pretends to be him and almost no one can tell. Roddy can easily replace him and get everything he has. He only needs one step to enter the position of deputy police captain in the management team, his big house, his car, his property, his beautiful wife, you. Puzzy. Another mouthful of blood spat out, and Roche's eyes protruded, falling to the ground and dying. Die without closing one's eyes. I don't know if it was killed by Roddy's anger or by cutting his throat. MD, whoever steps on a horse and causes me to die, I will let whoever dies. He had killed too many people, and when he saw Rock die, his heart didn't fluctuate much. He bent down to explore him and found relevant documents, mobile phones, and some identity-related things. Kick the corpse into the pit, pick up the shovel and start filling the pit. After burying the body, another arrangement was made to ensure that ordinary people could not see that a pit had been dug here. I looked around again and found Rocky's car. There was a new suit of clothes on the car. I changed my clothes and stood beside the rearview mirror. I sorted my hair and smiled. It looked the same as Rocky, but not the same. Hello, I'm Rocky. TSK, on the first day of traveling, I experienced a transformation from a robber to a police officer. It's exciting enough. Obviously, compared to the gangsters who cannot make it to the table, the robbers. The police, especially the deputy captain of the police station who has touched the management level, have more prospects and social status. More importantly, the police force in the United States is the most powerful among all countries in the world, with a wide range of powers. Including but not limited to detention, interrogation, search, and arrest rights. During the execution of tasks, actions can be taken directly without the approval of superiors, such as conducting house searches and intercepting suspicious individuals. If one feels that their own security is threatened, they can exercise their right to self-defense. Moreover, 99% of police homicide incidents in the United States end with the involved police not being prosecuted. The reason is simple. When police feel threatened, they can follow the principle of superior self-defense, and as long as the enemy has weapons, even cold weapons, they can immediately fire. He now has a system where he can gain experience by killing criminals, and upgrade to gain attribute points and skill points. Becoming a police officer proves that he can openly kill criminals without committing crimes. However, Roddy has not yet figured out how the system determines evil. According to theory, Roddy is suspected of murder, which is definitely considered evil. However, after killing him, there is no experience prompt. However, these can be gradually studied in the future, and the top priority is to familiarize oneself with everything about Rocky and do a good job with him. Downtown Los Angeles. Drive the car into the garage, stand at the door and take a few deep breaths, calm down a bit, and his expression turns into Roche's usual coldness. Starting today, I am Rocky. According to Roche's salary level, he definitely can't afford this villa. It was a gift from his father.in.law to their husband and wife when they got married. Unfortunately, Rocky, who had just gotten married, went to see the King of Hell within a few days. No, this is the West, it should be seeing the Grim Reaper. This villa belongs to him now. Pressed the doorbell, and soon the door opened. Then, a tall young woman in her 20s, about 1.7 meters tall, appeared at the door, with long hair draped over her shoulders, her eyes sparkling with agility like water, her pink face as bright as peach blossoms, her lips vermilion red, and her whole face as beautiful as a blooming hibiscus, with a charming expression. At this moment, she was wearing a black lace nightgown, revealing a vast expanse of snow, which could be described as a fruity combination of twigs. It was heavy and heavy, making people tremble at the sight. Under the nightgown were a pair of slender and fair legs, with jade feet on slippers. These are indeed a pair of jade feet, as the saying goes, snow white and soft satin is as smooth as jade, and 10 toes are as light red as petals. Surprisingly, she is a mixed-race beauty, just like Rocky. Gu Qingzhou, the wife of Luo Qi, who had been married for less than a week, worked as an editor at a newspaper. Her father, Gu Bai, was Chinese and married a white wife, giving birth to Gu Qingzhou. Gu Bai has a net worth of billions and has a certain say in the Chinese community in Los Angeles. Don't blame your brothers for not being human, just blame your sister.in.law for being too charming. Looking at his beautiful sister.in.law. Wife, Roche once again said in his heart. I will take care of your wife, don't worry. Darling, come in quickly, what have you been watching me do? Staring intently at Luo Qi, Gu Qingzhou smiled slightly and walked forward to embrace his arm, suddenly enveloped in a warm and soft embrace. It is obvious that the relationship between the two is very good. Luo Qi took a cold breath in her heart and grabbed Gu Qingzhou's waist. She tilted her head to gaze at Luo Qi and said with concern, Darling, have you encountered something difficult? It's okay, there's just a difficult case. I'll take care of something. You go to bed first. Rocky patted his perky buttocks, went upstairs, found the study, went in, and locked the door. Gu Qingzhou frowned as he watched him go upstairs, his red lips slightly parted, and he hesitated to speak. She felt that Rocky was a bit strange tonight, and she couldn't pinpoint exactly where it was. In the study, Rocky's mind moved and the attribute panel appeared. After studying it, he found that focusing one's attention on a particular area would lead to a corresponding explanation, which is very user-friendly. Just like 4 attributes. Strength. Physical strength, including flesh and blood, bones agility. Explosive power, speed, neural response speed endurance. Strength of the 5 organs and 6 organs mental power. Memory, observation, logical analysis under normal circumstances. The peak physical fitness of an adult man is between 28 and 32 years old, and the global average for men is 10. Of course, there are significant individual differences between individuals. Both innate qualities and acquired exercise can create a significant gap. The average value can only be used as a reference. Chapter 4. Skill Points and Hidden Dangers. You are listening at novel.Audio. Overall, Roche's physical fitness surpasses that of ordinary people of the same age. After studying the attributes, Roche began to study his own skills again. His skills are quite complex, but most of them are LV1, which belongs to the level of mastery. LV2 belongs to the level of proficiency. LV3 belongs to the level of professional proficiency. If we compare it by driving, LV1 belongs to those who have passed the driver's license test, driven for 6 months and a year, and have mastered the skill of driving. LV2 belongs to an experienced driver who has been driving for 10 or 20 years. Roche's firearms shooting, driving, and forced confession are all LV2, surpassing the vast majority of ordinary people, and he can now rely on this for a living. So LV2 is actually not bad. Rocky has over a dozen skills, 6 of which are LV2, and the others are all LV1. With these skills, he has made a name for himself in the mercenary world. As for the level of proficiency in LV3, it is equivalent to being a professional in this field. Compared to driving, it is the kind that can already participate in professional racing competitions. Rocky only has one LV3 skill, sexual intercourse. I'm Nima. Roach was powerless to roast. This is actually a skill, the highest level skill of oneself. Looking at the most prominent LV3 on the panel, Rocky felt a bit awkward. This is a broken system. It slanders me, it slanders me. After roast in his heart, Roach began to think about adding something. There are only 2 attribute points, which one should be added. Give it a try by adding some strength first. Mind movement, attribute points 2.1, strength 11.12. In an instant, a stream of heat appeared out of thin air, flowing through Roche's limbs and internal organs for just over 10 seconds. So fast. Roche stood up and moved around for a moment, clenching his fists and kicking his legs. He could feel that his strength had indeed increased significantly. He took off his clothes and stood in front of the mirror, feeling that his body had become more robust. Add agility. Attribute points 1.0, agility 9.10. The same heat flow appears, but this time the change is even greater. Perhaps his body is relatively strong, and his predecessor had a habit of exercising regularly. His muscles were larger and he looked very strong, with a strong sense of power. However, his agility was slightly inferior. After this strengthening, his muscle mass decreased significantly, and his body became more symmetrical, but his strength did not decrease by half. Previously difficult movements can now be easily achieved. The change in agility is greater than the change in strength, perhaps because the base of agility is 2 points less than that of strength. Also, the bonus brought by attribute enhancement is not a percentage increase, it should exceed this value. According to attributes, Roche's strength attribute has increased by less than 1/10, but the increase in that sense of power is obviously more than 1/10, perhaps even 1/5. After some activity, Rocky was very satisfied with this improvement. I don't know what changes will occur when various attributes are filled up. At this point, the panel properties prompt him again. The maximum value of the four major attributes is 15, which means that human strength, agility, endurance, and mental strength limits cannot exceed 15 points. Moreover, the four major attributes are not independent of each other, but interrelated and all belong to a part of the human body. There won't be a situation where strength is 13 points and agility is 6 points. Strength, agility, and endurance are all part of the physique. When one attribute point is strengthened, it is a comprehensive enhancement of the body, but the emphasis on the three major attribute points is different. It seems that the four major attributes complement each other, with 1 plus 1 being greater than 2. Roche finally figured it out. After adding attribute points, Rocky began to consider skill points. Or rather, it doesn't need to be considered. For police officers, firearm shooting skills are certainly the most important. With a thought, skill points were added to firearms shooting. Skill points. 2.1, Firearm shooting. LV2.LV3, in a daze, Roach entered a wonderful realm, constantly shooting in an unfamiliar environment, as if he was not tired. The environment is constantly changing, and the goals are also constantly changing. His shooting skills are becoming more and more proficient. In the end, he had reached the point where he could fire without fail within 30 meters, whether using a handgun or a rifle. If you want to start, you will never hit the neck. Firearm shooting LV3. After years of professional training, your shooting skills have become extremely advanced, and you can maintain super accuracy within 30 meters in any environment. Amazing. Amazing. Roche slowly opened his eyes. The person hasn't changed, and his hands are still those, but his current marksmanship is no worse than the sharpshooters in the army. Continue to improve. This time, the panel did not change, only a prompt was given. Upgrading from LV3 to LV4 requires 2 skill points. Unfortunately, I also want to see what level the shooting of the LV4 can reach. Dong dong dong, a knock on the door rang out. Luochi opened the door, but Gu Qingzhou stood at the door, with a pair of black stockings on his slender and fair legs, leaning against the door frame, adding a touch of charm and diversity. She is ready to enter the battlefield of intense artillery fire. Darling, it's late, it's time to rest. You go to bed first, I have something to attend to yet. Rocky's throat twitched. To be honest, he was very tempted and wanted to enter the battlefield, but the hidden danger had not been resolved yet. That 10 million yuan of future troubles. He won't be able to swallow the 10 million without dealing with Roche's informant. Dear. Gu Qingzhou threw himself into his embrace, wrapped his hands around his neck, exhaled like orchids, and his red lips lightly imprinted on Roche's face. The fragrance of orchids like musk was refreshing to the heart. You've been too busy lately, we haven't rested together since getting married. Chapter 5. Los Angeles Police Department. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There is no problem with their relationship, the only problem is that the husband is too busy. As soon as he comes home, he usually falls asleep and rarely cultivates land. Feeling the tender and delicate body in his arms, Roche immediately saluted. He was already a young man with strong blood and vitality, a great beauty in his arms. If he didn't feel it, he would be a eunuch. Saying that he doesn't want to cultivate land is nonsense, but Roche is very clear that it's not time to cultivate land now. As a husband and wife, Gu Qingzhou must know a lot about Roche's body. Although his face and even DNA are identical to his elder brother's, his life habits are different over the years, resulting in some differences in his body. For example, scars. The treasure of arable land and the habits of arable land are completely different. As long as we start farming, we may be suspected. So, now is not the time to delve deeper. He must now solve the aftermath and understand his elder brother's personnel relationship at the police station. If he were to engage in women now, he would be unaware of the severity of the situation. Anyway, my sister. Law. My wife doesn't know how to run away, it's not the same whether we go deep early or late. After waiting for a while, perhaps the habit of farming will be ignored when she forgets something. Luo Qi gently kissed Gu Qingzhou, but he didn't expect her to greet him. The two kissed deeply for more than 10 seconds before parting. Gu Qingzhou collapsed softly on his chest, panting lightly. Luo Qi hugged him and sat back in a chair, holding the gentle beauty in his arms. The beauty was as delicate as jade, her small ears were red, and her little hands were not honest enough to touch the baby. Rocky quickly blocked her, afraid he couldn't help it. "Dear." Gu Qingzhou looked up, her eyes watery and alluring. Rocky shook his head and said softly, "Darling, beautiful times are always fleeting. I'm not marrying you for your body or beauty. Just holding you is the most beautiful moment." A stunning beauty was in his arms, and although Roach kept bowing, he kept suppressing his desires. This was a habit he had developed in his past life, and everything was secondary until the main task was completed. Beauty is no exception. Many of his peers were controlled by their lower bodies, and some died from instinctual desires. But Gu Qingzhou's beautiful eyes were puzzled. Judging from the contours he felt, Luo Qi really wanted to enter the battlefield and endured a lot of hard work. Roche smiled faintly and said, "This only shows that my love for you far exceeds my desires, and I can control my desires in this situation." "Dear." Gu Qingzhou was deeply moved in his heart. It turned out that Luo Qi had such a deep affection for her, but he only wanted to blend in with him and indulge in desires. "How could I be so superficial? Darling, I love you." Gu Qingzhou buried himself in Luo Qi's chest and murmured to himself. As a man, Rocky can tolerate it, but as a woman, why can't she tolerate it? "Well, I love you too." Roche kissed her forehead and said, "Qingzhou, I told you about my colleagues. Do you have any impression of them? I need to examine them from other perspectives, maybe it can help me." Based on his memory in his mind, Rocky still has a basic understanding of the Los Angeles Police Department. It has 21 districts under its jurisdiction and is further divided into 4 command areas by region, known as sub-bureaus. They are the Canyon Branch, Central Branch, Western Branch, and Southern Branch. In addition to these 2 sub-bureaus, there are also 2 special sub-bureaus, the Detective Bureau and the Special Operations Bureau. Roche is from the Detective Department, and these 2 special branches also have some differences in their positions compared to other branches. The internships of the police officers in the 4 major sub-bureaus all start with patrol officers, while the police officers who enter the Detective Department are detectives, with a higher status than ordinary patrol officers. If compared to Eastern powers, patrols are similar to police officers, detectives are similar to criminal police officers, and only some excellent police officers are qualified to enter police stations. Roche achieved excellent results at the police academy and had the support of his father. In.Law, which led him to enter the robbery-murder department as soon as he graduated, and became the deputy captain in less than 3 years. Although my father. In.Law Gu Bai is only a Chinese, don't underestimate the power of a billionaire capitalist in capitalist countries. Gu Bai's emphasis on Rocky is because he values his future at the police station. As long as he can be promoted to captain and become a manager, he can be given some help. Roche is still young and has the opportunity to be promoted to director, deputy director, and even director in the future. Under Gu Qingzhou's narration, Luo Qi began to have a rough understanding of the robbery-murder department. The Los Angeles Robbery-Murder Division oversees the murder and robbery cases of over 10 million people in the entire greater Los Angeles area. There are a total of 5 squadrons, including approximately 70.80 logistics personnel. Some squadrons have fewer members, while others have more members. And the 5th squadron where Roach is located is the last to be established, with the least number of people, otherwise Roach would not have served as the vice captain at a young age. In Gu Qingzhou's impression, his superior Robert had a domineering personality and wanted to take control of everything. He detested the guy Rocky who came to compete for power with him. The other members of the squadron are either reckless in their actions, idle in their pursuits, or have explosive personalities, receiving complaints hundreds of times a year taking down all the useful information mentioned by Gu Qingzhou. Luo Qi nodded lightly and kissed her face again. Qingzhou, thank you. You go to bed first. First, get a rough understanding, then gradually understand later. Don't rush to achieve results. Both of them have a Chinese father and an American mother, who have been raised by their father for more time and are therefore proficient in both Chinese and English. When there are no outsiders at home, the two communicate more in Chinese and English outside. Don't we sleep together? Gu Qingzhou's seductive eyes were like silk, wriggling her delicate body in his arms, her red lips slightly parted, and she asked for a kiss. Roche stood up and patted her shoulder. I really have something important to deal with. You go to bed first. Damn it. It's too naughty. If you continue to seduce me, I really can't help it. Well, then don't be too busy too late. Gu Qingzhou didn't continue to seduce, stood up, swayed and walked to the door, where he even blew a kiss. The door gently closed, and Gu Qingzhou's smile gradually disappeared. Her beautiful eyes flickered, filled with a look of doubt. Today's husband. How abnormal. As soon as the door closed, Roche continued to search. In a drawer, Roche found a phone, and when it turned on, he found only 3 phones on it. One of the calls was the name of the informant mentioned by my brother. This person must be dealt with, otherwise this $10 million knife will only be taken out as credit. Chapter 6. Killing people and eliminating hidden dangers. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The next day. Rocky, who had slept in the study all night, heard the footsteps down the stairs and saw Gu Qingzhou coming downstairs, ready to bend down and put on his shoes. At this moment, she was wearing a black OL dress, and when she bent down, she was round, full, and prominent, like a ripe peach. Her slender legs were wrapped in black silk, especially tempting. After she put on her shoes and turned around, she smiled and said, "Rocky, breakfast is ready. Remember to finish it, I'll go to work." "Well, I know, pay attention to safety." Rocky waved his hand and was very satisfied with his sister-in-law. Wife. The only drawback is that we cannot delve deeper now. 10 minutes later, Roche changed into a new outfit, put on a mask and baseball cap, and instead of driving, he took a taxi to an abandoned industrial area in front of him. Half an hour before the agreed time, Roche arrived and chose a place to hide. More than 20 minutes later, a thin and small figure appeared in the field of vision. After entering the agreed place, he looked left and right. "Damn it, you haven't come yet." Standing in place for a while without seeing anyone, Ryan took out a cigarette and lit it up to smoke. Ryan is a young thug who has been around for many years. He is not acting as an informant for Rocky because of any justice or principles, but because of money. Having been involved in the underworld for many years, Ryan has his own channel to inquire about information. He provides information and Rocky pays. It's simple. Not long ago, he heard from a gang of thugs who were drinking together that a group of people were preparing to snatch cash trucks. He went to inquire on his own and found out that this was actually true, so he sold the news to Rocky. Their previous model was to give the message first and then the money, and this time he is here to get the money. $5,000. It's not a small sum for him anymore. Suddenly, a sharp cold appeared on Ryan's waist, and his body stiffened. This feeling was very familiar to him, and he quickly trembled and said, "Hey, buddy, don't hurt me. I have all my money with me. Take whatever you want, as long as it doesn't hurt." "Shut up." Roach lowered his voice and slightly changed his tone. "Follow me, don't move around." Feeling the pain in his waist, Ryan didn't dare to act recklessly and moved his steps ahead of Roach. After walking about 50 meters, Ryan arrived at a dark place that no one could see. His heart gradually became uneasy, and he breathed quickly. He raised his hands high and said, "Dude. Hiss, the blade pierced slightly into his waist, then grabbed Ryan's long hair with a big hand and kicked him on the knee, causing him to kneel hard. Then, a person knelt hard on his back, pressing him to the ground. The cold pain almost made Ryan faint, but the pain on his scalp kept him awake. I'll ask. You answer. If there's half a word of nonsense, I'll kill you immediately. A sharp voice echoed into Ryan's ears, causing him to tremble and nod repeatedly. He twisted his body in an attempt to change to a more comfortable position, but the person kneeling on his back was like a big mountain, pressing down on his spine and almost breaking. I can't breathe anymore. Ryan groaned. Roche just let go a little. Name. Ryan, Alex Ryan. How big? 35. How many people in the family? Where do they live? Ryan hesitated for a moment, and the tip of his knife pierced through his waist, causing more blood to flow out. If you dare to hesitate any longer, I will poke into your kidney from here, so that you won't see tomorrow's sun. The voice became increasingly cold, with a murderous intent. Ryan trembled even more violently, and yellow urine flowed from his crotch. The most terrifying thing in this world is not death, but the moment when death is about to come. Ryan's psychological defense line has been completely shattered. Los Angeles Square, apartment 65 Chinatown, I'm the only one at home. A person. Really, I'm only one person. My wife divorced and left Los Angeles with her son. I've been living alone for 7 years now. How much money do you have? 4,000, some are at home and some are with me. I can take you to get them, but I don't have any savings. What Rocky asked, what he answered, gradually, he answered any trivial and secretive matter without hesitation. How many people did you tell about someone robbing a cash truck? 1. 1. Who? Rocky. A detective. Why would you tell a detective about this? I am his informant, he gives money, I give messages, that's all. Are you sure? I'm sure. Rocky breathed a sigh of relief. Since only Ryan knew about Rocky's robbery of a cash truck, as long as he was solved, Rocky's suspicion would be completely eliminated. Why are you here? I made an agreement with Rocky that he would give me 5,000 yuan in compensation. Who knew you came over? I slept alone last night and didn't tell. Suddenly, Ryan seemed to realize something and screamed, You're Rocky. You're Rocky. Don't kill me. Many people know I'm here. Shoo. The dagger pierced Ryan's waist and ribs, turning 360 degrees, and immediately churned his kidneys, causing a torrent of blood. This enemy is one of the most vulnerable parts of the human body. It hurts so much from being punched by a child, and now it has been stirred to pieces by Rocky's knife. The pain is indescribable, and Ryan can't even say a word, trembling to death. The dagger that Rocky stabbed in was very stable. Over a decade of career as a mercenary has already made his heart cold. It's just killing someone, without any psychological pressure. As for Ryan's words before his death, 99% were false. After cleaning up the surrounding traces, Roche did not destroy the body, but immediately left the abandoned factory area. Perhaps it will take 10.5 days, or maybe a few months before anyone discovers a body here. And the person in charge of this case is likely to be him. Check yourself. A thug who lives alone without a wife and children, few people will care about his death thanks to Roche taking 3 days off before, he traveled back to work on the 3rd day. He is looking forward to his police career. Early in the morning, he drove to the police station with relevant documents and bought breakfast for 10 people. The detective station has a large area, with restaurants, gyms, and parking lots to choose from. He arrived neither early nor late. 3 people had already arrived at the 5th Squadron office, and a burly white man was tidying up the table, muttering something inexplicably. A white woman is bowing her head and writing something. A black person wearing headphones, closing his eyes and listening to music as if no one was around, and occasionally twisting his body, looking very excited. Chapter 7. The villain turned out to be myself. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rocky's entry caught their attention, and they were slightly surprised to see him carrying a bunch of mornings. In their impression, this vice captain had always been aloof and not close to anyone, and he actually brought so many mornings today. Of course, most people in the 5th Squadron don't like this deputy team in their hearts. Roach parachuted into the 5th Squadron as a deputy team at a young age, and with a wealthy father-in-law who hasn't shown much ability for over 2 months, he is perceived by others as a little white face who eats soft food. Of course, the most important thing is that Captain Robert and Roach don't play against each other. One is a veteran captain who has been deeply involved in the detective department for many years, and the other is a young deputy team with a reputation for being a soft eater. Even fools know how to stand in line. Therefore, on the surface, everyone shows respect for the boss Rocky, but in reality, most of them are hesitant and distant. Black Carter took off his headphones and nodded. "Lieutenant, thank you for breakfast." The tall and blonde woman named Elena is a typical ocean horse, at least 88 centimeters long, with watery eyes. "Lieutenant, you're so handsome today." "Didn't I look handsome before?" "No, before, today, and from now on, they are all handsome." Thank you." Deputy team. The white man Benson was powerful and muscular, with a face full of flesh and a height of about 1.9 meters. However, it was obvious that he couldn't even maintain his superficial respect. He didn't want to say a word more to Rocky, just greeted him lightly. Feeling Benson's blatant malice that could hardly be concealed, Roach directly labeled him as a villain. "I am a young and handsome person with a bright future who only brought you breakfast. You are not grateful, you must be very narrow-minded. I will be a righteous person from now on, and those who dislike me will be villains. Give breakfast to 3 people, and all 3 of them greet or express gratitude." In just a few words of conversation, Roach has analyzed which of these 3 people can be wooed and which can be abandoned. Due to her exceptional appearance, Elena has a certain liking for him, and even gave him a flirtatious glance just now. Rocky is sure that as long as he hinted to her, he could enjoy the service of the ocean horse tonight. Men are lecherous, and women are equally lecherous. Even after getting married, there are still many women who want to pounce on someone as handsome as Rocky. So Elena can easily win over. Carter, on the other hand, had a hesitant attitude towards him, and even with a certain amount of effort, he was able to win him over. Benson, on the other hand, was extremely disgusted with him, and it was difficult to win him over. This guy must be the captain's staunch loyalty. 10 minutes later, except for Robert and someone who was preparing to retire and take a long leave at the hospital, all 7 of them arrived. Rocky personally gave them breakfast, and everyone talked to each other. Rocky is very abnormal today. As Roach entered his office, Benson muttered to himself with a puzzled expression on his face. "Yeah, the deputy team is a bit strange today." Carter nodded. Rocky has always been serious and business-oriented at the detective station, rarely showing a smile to people, but today he brought breakfast to everyone with a smile. What exactly is this situation? Has the sun come out from the west? The more Benson thought about it, the more strange it became. If something goes wrong, there must be a demon. The captain asked him to keep an eye on Rocky. In this special situation, we must inform the captain as soon as possible. With this thought in mind, he left the office and called Captain Robert, who had not yet arrived. "Captain, Rocky just arrived at the office, but he was very strange today. I suspect he has some ulterior motives." Rocky sat in the office with his eyes slightly closed, savoring the pleasure that everyone had towards him with a hint of respect. Being a leader was much more satisfying than being a mercenary. This his mother leader is still unpopular, and everyone should still maintain a certain degree of respect. If I become the director, wouldn't the director be even more satisfied? I want to climb to the highest point step by step. I wonder if it's possible for me to become president. Roche thought for a moment and felt that he had no chance of becoming president. After all, he is of mixed race. Feeling relieved to himself, Rocky called Elena into the office. Don't misunderstand, he is doing the right thing. About 20 minutes later, Elena brought in a stack of documents and bit her red lips lightly. Lieutenant, if you have any further needs in the future, just let me know, she said. Rocky smiled slightly and said, is anything okay? Of course. She gently brushed her fingers over the back of Rocky's hand, tickling Rocky's heart. If necessary, I will come to you. Stay tuned at any time. Elena gently closed the door, and Roche carefully examined the personnel information of the robbery-murder department. The information of other squadrons only includes names, ages, and photos. And the internal personnel information of the 5th Squadron needs to be more detailed. As a deputy team, it is normal to look at the information of internal personnel in one's own squadron. It took Rocky several hours to finish reading all the information, and he already had a good understanding of the internal workings of the 5th Squadron. As for a deeper understanding, he had to rely on personal contact. At a young age, he is the deputy captain of the detective department and has a bright future. Rocky wants to continue to cultivate on this bright road. In his past life, he was a mercenary with his head pinned on his belt. To be honest, he had been in this industry for over a decade and had personally killed many people. He didn't think he was a good person either, because in that land of Africa, good people have no end in life. But since he has traveled, it is God who has given him a chance to make a choice. In this life, he wants to be a good person. Strike down criminals and then get promoted and rich. Starting from today, he will make a division from the past and become a good person. Ding-ling-ling. The phone rang, but it was an unmarked call. Rocky answered the call with some confusion. Hello. Deputy Roach, you've taken our money but haven't been doing anything. You don't want to go back on your word, do you? Our money isn't so easy to collect. A cold voice came from the other end of the phone. Nima. Rocky widened his eyes. It's broken. The villain is actually myself. Damn it. How dare you slander me? It's all done by my brother, what's my business? But I'm his mother now, replacing my brother. Damn it. How many hidden dangers has this guy left for me? I didn't expect that you, a big-eyed guy, not only played black and ate black, killed your brother, but also collected his mother money. Chapter 8. I am not a human being. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Isn't that right? Have I become a police officer in my life and still have to take the dark side? In the memory of his predecessor, Good Brother had always been a fairly upright person. After becoming a police officer, besides frequently wiping his butt, he was also a good police officer. That's also why the original owner believed his brother and became an undercover agent in the robber gang. Now a phone call came in, and he realized that this Good Brother must have done a lot of dirty things behind his back. It can be inferred from the content of the phone that the Good Brother accepted bribes to act on behalf of others. For a moment, Roche's mind was filled with many thoughts. He knows too little information now. He doesn't know how much involvement his Good Brother has had, what he promised, and even less who is on the other end of the phone. The fact is, the more things a Good Brother participates in, the harder it is for him to replace him. Bastard. Do you think it's over without talking? Our boss doesn't have much patience. He doesn't take money and doesn't do anything. Don't force us to do things you don't like. Threatened words came out on the phone. Rocky snorted coldly and said discontentedly, "Are you threatening me?" He is not a big shot now and has not yet reached the management level of the police station. However, the so-called boss in this population can now find a deputy team leader and rely on threatening him to handle matters, which fully demonstrates that this person is not a big shot. The deputy captain of the detective department still has his card face. If he really threatens him like this, he can only be controlled in the future. The person breathed a sigh of relief and said, "No, Deputy Roach, how dare I threaten you? I'm just reminding you that it's only natural for us to collect money and handle matters. We've given you all the money, so there's no reason not to help us with our affairs. Not a threat is the best." Roche said coldly, "For specific matters, I need to have a face-to-face meeting with your boss. I will send you the location later." "Okay, wait for you." Before he could finish speaking, Roche hung up the phone and sat there, his face changing, with uncertain whether. He finally realized at this moment that the difficulty of replacing his brother was much greater than he had imagined. Perhaps it's a natural cycle. In the past, my good brother wiped his predecessor's buttocks many times. My good brother is full of shit. He has to wipe his butt for him, who has replaced him. After pondering for a moment, Roche called Elena in and gave her a phone number. "Elena, help me find out who the owner of this phone is." "Okay, I'll go check now." As a logistics staff member, checking the phone number is a simple task, and Elena readily responded. Next, Roche tidied up the office and surprisingly found a diary. "Oh, it seems that my good brother is not a serious person. A serious person who writes a diary." Opening the diary, most of the content is meaningless records. The two names that appear most frequently in the diary are Benson and Robert. Big brother Benson is very disdainful, saying that his mind is broken and he has read too many comics, treating himself as the Captain of America who upholds justice. From his diary, Roach constructed the image of Benson. This person is full of idealism and is the kind of upright image in movies and TV dramas that is incompatible with evil. In order to eliminate evil, one can do anything to fight. In the eyes of a good big brother, a person full of idealism is very foolish, as childish as a child. So Benson was just a detective when he was almost 40. Closing the diary, Luo Cheat secretly said that something was wrong. It turned out that his good brother was really a villain. What Rocky is afraid of now is that Robert and Benson are targeting good brother not only because he is a paratrooper, but also because he has the purpose of discovering his true identity. This kind of painting means that Roche's current situation is very dangerous. According to the plot in the film and television series, they must be collecting evidence of their elder brother's crime and finally sending him to prison. Upon reaching this point, Roche felt extremely helpless. He really wants to be a good person from now on, but reality doesn't allow it. It's all because my good brother made him take the blame. Since that's the case, it's not human. Captain's office. "Captain, I think Rocky knows we're collecting evidence of his crime. This cunning guy must be trying some kind of conspiracy." Benson spoke to Robert with a look of righteous indignation. For over a decade as a police officer, he has been fighting against evil and has never given in. Therefore, he looks down on Rocky, who is secretly colluding with evil. However, it must be admitted that this guy is hiding very deep and has not collected any strong evidence. Robert is in his early 30s and doesn't seem like a police officer in appearance. He is not tall or strong, leaning thin, wearing golden glasses, and has a polite appearance. Instead, he appears to be a scholar. After listening to Benson's words, he lightly clasped his hand on the chair and said calmly, "Benson, for over a month, we haven't collected any favorable evidence, indicating that this guy is not easy to deal with. If we push him too hard and make him realize it, it will make him hide even deeper, making it harder to capture evidence of his crime, so we need to relax." At his early 30s, he stepped into the management of the police station, and Robert can be considered young and promising. Benson shook his head with a firm expression and said, "Captain, if he realizes it, he should accelerate his pace and catch evidence of his crime. Send him to prison. He has decided to intensify the investigation into Rock." Robert let out a light sigh and stood up to pat his shoulder. "Okay, but be careful and don't let him grab your handle with his back." His best friend, who was originally investigating Rocky, was bitten back and left the police force in despair. Benson showed a confident smile, full of a sense of justice, and patted his chest heavily. "Captain, don't worry. I'm a hunter, he's a prey. How could a prey be a hunter's opponent? Okay, go ahead." Watching Benson leave, Robert's smile slowly faded from his face. He lowered his head in contemplation, his face gloomy. He knew in his heart that although there were reasons why he wanted to seek revenge for his friend when dealing with Roach, most of the reasons were still power struggles. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Rocky has a bright future, and the captain won't be his priority. The deputy director is about to retire, and there are two people qualified to compete for the director. One is Anthony, the director of the robbery-murder department, and the other is Bill, the director of the anti-crime and anti-drug department. And when Rocky entered the robbery-murder department, it was Anthony who came forward to deliver it. Everyone knows that Anthony is Rocky's backstage in the detective department. Not long ago, Bill found him and asked him to find evidence of Roach's illegal activities. The impact of overthrowing Roach on Anthony is not significant, but at a critical moment for the deputy director of competition, Anthony's people committing illegal crimes and being sent to prison will become a key factor in the success of the competition. Chapter 9. American Buqun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bill promised Robert that as soon as he became the director of the branch, he would be promoted to the position of director. Robert agreed without hesitation. The director in his early 30s is completely different from the captain in his early 30s, representing a broader future and too tempting. But now there is an awkward problem. He is the captain of the robbery-murder department, with Anthony as his boss, but he has defected to Bill. And now there are some rumors and gossip in the detective department that are extremely unfavorable to him, which has led to Anthony being cold to him and making him difficult several times during this period. If Anthony takes up the position of branch director, then he is doomed. But under Anthony's nose, he couldn't openly investigate Rocky, as the resources he used were extremely limited. So we can only use Benson as a scapegoat. Almost everyone in the detective department knows that this guy has a strong sense of justice and a single-minded mind. He can receive 100 or 200 complaints a year. If Bill fails in the competition, he will definitely be suppressed. He will either resign or sit on the bench and behave with his head down. He doesn't want to end up like this. Iron Gate Property. The identity of the phone was quickly identified as the assistant to the boss of the Iron Gate Property Company. At this moment, Roach is reviewing the information of Iron Gate Property Company and its owner. Iron Gate Property is not very large in scale, it is just a medium-sized property company in Los Angeles. Regardless of the country, the involvement of property companies in black activities is common. Iron Gate Property is no exception. Its owner Colin has been repeatedly complained about, threatened, and violently injured. Once, when Rock was cracking down on the anti-drug department, there was a case about him that his good brother was responsible for. In the end, there was no such thing as this scumbag. Now it seems that there must be a PY transaction between the two. I'm such a great big brother, I'm really a unique American. Roach was amazed. My older brother appears to be a police officer, but in reality, he is a black police officer. He plans to go black and eat black, even more so than those who work in the underworld. My younger brother is a gangster. Brothers are like birds of a feather, no wonder they are siblings. But my older brother is even more shameless. On the surface, he looks righteous, but secretly he is full of male thieves and female prostitutes. And recently, the case that Roach has been handling is the QJ case. The suspect is Colin's son, who had sex with a Chinese-American girl. The girl couldn't bear to be humiliated and jumped off a building to commit suicide. Her parents came to report the incident with the girl's suicide note. Unfortunately, the girl's body was mistakenly burned at the funeral home, and the body was burned to ashes. The situation of accidental burning is understood by those who understand it. The current situation is that although the suspect has been arrested, the police have not found strong evidence. The reason why the suspect has not been released is because the news has received a lot of attention, and public opinion generally sympathizes with the jumping girl. Therefore, even if the police do not find evidence, they dare not release the person. No wonder Colin is so anxious. His only son has been locked up, can he not be in a hurry? Roche finally understood why Colin's assistant was threatening him without hesitation. The touching father-son bond, sending you to prison for a reunion, can be considered fulfilling for you. At 8:30 p.m. a He.N Chinese restaurant in Chinatown pushed open the door and walked into a private room. Colin stood up and said in a strange tone, "The deputy team is really busy with official work." It was agreed to be half an hour late at 8 o'clock. He is about 50 years old, with fat flesh and big ears. When he lies down, he is like a big fat pig that can be sold. His eyes are squinting, as if he is brewing a conspiracy at any time. Rocky ignored him and took off his coat to start eating. Colin became even more dissatisfied and slammed the table heavily. "What are you dragging? The police don't have any evidence. As long as you don't have enough evidence to close the case, wouldn't releasing my son end it?" During this period, in order to save his son, he struggled to sleep day and night, putting in all his efforts. However, Roche received the money but remained silent. After so many days without any news, how could he not be angry? Roche still ignored him, and Colin became even angrier. He kept pounding the table, accompanied by his roar. "Rocky! You should give me an explanation. After giving me the money, why hasn't my son released it yet? I tell you, I can do anything for my son, don't force me to die with you. Don't forget that I have evidence of your crime in my hands. The tomorrow star of the police force is actually accepting bribes. If this news goes out, it will explode the entire Los Angeles." Roche lifted his head, reached out and slowly wiped his mouth with a tissue, then grabbed the wine bottle beside him. Bang! The wine bottle exploded on Colin's head, splashing with a mixture of wine and fresh blood. "Ah, ah, ah," Colin screamed in pain, covering his head in pain and retreating. His face, covered in blood, was full of disbelief, and he roared angrily. "Rocky, you're crazy. How dare you hit me?" Bang! Rock kicked him in the stomach, and before he could step back to the wall, he reached out and grabbed his hair, pulling it hard and approaching him coldly, saying, "You heard me clearly. What you said was before, but now the police have new clues. The public opinion pressure from the police is very high now, and your son does have a strong suspicion. Even if he can be released, he will not be released. Moreover, there are new clues." Of course, this statement was made by Rocky to scare him, with the aim of stabilizing him. To his knowledge, the police currently have no evidence to prove Colin's son QJ. "Have you ever had surgery on your head? Did you move it onto your butt? I saved you once before, but now I have to save your son again. Does that amount of money from you count as much? Have I ever demanded an extra penny from you from start to finish? I stepped on the horse to use your money to do your business. Bastard. Don't draft your speech, damn it. I'll let you know if I have more clues later, you can handle it. Get lost. Also, remember to pay the bill, add a few dishes, and I'll keep eating." Colin took off his clothes and silently wiped the blood from his forehead, then stumbled out and closed the private door. Then came the heart-wrenching curses. To be honest, even He.N Chinese restaurants have a taste that is not very authentic and barely acceptable. During the meal, Roche was constantly considering a question. That's how much evidence Colin has for his good brother's crime. Where did the money that my good brother embezzled and bribed go? The most likely scenario is at home. Roche remembered the safe in the study, which he had rummaged through for a long time but couldn't find the key to the safe. In a moment of thought, Luo Qi returned home and was about to open the door when Gu Qingzhou opened it. She was clearly dressed up carefully, wearing a white lace suspender dress, revealing a pair of slender and round legs, and talking and laughing happily. Roche, do you know what day it is today? Chapter 10. Blame me for being too powerful. You are listening at novelfull.audio. She wore delicate light makeup, her eyebrows and eyes were like a painting, with lace straps hanging on her fair shoulders, revealing her delicate collarbone. However, further down, she was about to reveal it, and the white strap skirt complemented her jade-like skin. It's white and big. Charming and charming. My good brother is truly blessed. Rocky silently sighed in his heart. It's just that this erotic blessing will belong to me from now on. Today is definitely a good day. Humph. You must have forgotten, today is the anniversary of our acquaintance. Gu Qingzhou glanced at him with a coquettish snort, bent down to get his shoes, and inadvertently tightened his suspender skirt, outlining a round curve that was unique to young women. Anniversary. Rocky's mind turned, he patted his head, his face full of self-blame, and he reached out to lightly tap her shoulder. Look at my memory, I've forgotten even our anniversary. I'll definitely give you a gift to make up for it when I come back. Damn it. It's too difficult to impersonate my good brother. Now comes another anniversary. It doesn't matter what the gift is, as long as you spend it with me. Gu Qingzhou pulled Luo Qi inside and the two sat on the table, saying, I'm ready to pour the wine. Let's have a drink first. Luo Qi squinted his eyes slightly, with a hint of suspicion. Since he entered the door, Gu Qingzhou has been avoiding his gaze. When he patted her shoulder just now, there seemed to be a sense of avoidance. You know, on the first night of his journey, Gu Qingzhou wished he had rubbed himself into his body, but tonight he felt disgusted. Luo Qi wanted to learn from Prime Minister Wei Wu and wield his whip, inheriting his aspirations, as well as his doubts. Gu Qingzhou is very wrong tonight. Come on. Gu Qingzhou handed a glass of wine to Luo Qi. Roche took the glass of wine, but didn't drink it. Instead, he had a slightly playful taste and said, Qingzhou, have you forgotten something? Gu Qingzhou trembled and nervously said, What have you forgotten? Forgot black silk, I like black silk, Roche smiled slightly. Gu Qingzhou trembled, his face stiffened for a moment, and then he smiled coquettishly, There's really nothing I can do about you. I'll go wear it now. After speaking, she curled up and went back to the room to wear black silk. Staring at Gu Qingzhou's graceful figure, Luo Qi's smile slowly disappeared from his face, and his expressionless expression changed the positions of his two glasses of wine. The so-called heart of harming others cannot be ignored. No, the heart of preventing others cannot be ignored. With the lesson of being attacked and electrocuted by a good brother, Rock always maintains a vigilant heart. The lesson of capsizing in the sewer once is enough, there cannot be a second one. If it's just his illusion, swapping glasses has no effect. But if it's not his illusion, then Gu Qingzhou seriously suspects that he is a counterfeit. If this is the case, how should we solve it? Say, Shuei, convince her. In less than a minute, Gu Qingzhou returned with black silk. A white dress with a suspender and black silk. Still a great beauty. Family members, who knows? The temptation has doubled again. Roche saluted directly. You're so beautiful today, so beautiful that it's beyond redemption. Roche raised his glass and toasted. Gu Qingzhou raised his glass and lightly touched it. While drinking, Yu Guang kept staring at Luo Qi. Seeing him drink it all in one gulp, he breathed a slight sigh of relief in his heart and his eyes turned slightly red. Roddy, what's wrong with your big brother Rocky? What Roddy? I'm Rocky. Shut up. Gu Qingzhou suddenly spoke in unison, her pretty face angry, tears uncontrollably falling down her face, gritting her teeth. Stop pretending. You're not Rocky, you're Roddy. Rocky and I've only known each other for 8 months, far less than a year. What's wrong with Rocky? This statement was as expected by Roche. He didn't panic, slowly leaned back, didn't deny it, and asked calmly, how could you have discovered so quickly? It's only the third day. Gu Qingzhou wiped away her tears and transformed into an ice beauty, looking at him coldly. What's wrong with Rocky? Is he still alive? Rocky played with the flavor and said, did you suspect me the night before yesterday? Last night, Gu Qingzhou returned to his mother's house, and they only had close contact the night before yesterday. Is it possible that he is too powerful? Despicable and shameless. Gu Qingzhou's pretty face was flushed with embarrassment and anger. As a married couple, she understands everything about her husband. When I sat on my body, I suspected it, but there was no evidence. Last night, I used the excuse of staying at my mother's house, but in fact I went to investigate. She certainly knows that her husband has a twin brother and has some understanding. After the investigation, a chilling conclusion was reached, but she couldn't believe it or didn't want to believe it. That's why tonight's probing came about. Half a month ago, the couple had a conversation, and at that time, the husband clearly remembered that they had known each other for almost 8 months. If it were him himself, he would definitely deny that tonight is not the first anniversary. If it was that scoundrel's uncle who replaced his brother in a dignified manner, then the husband would have been more or less unlucky by now. Gu Qingzhou prepared for the worst. Guess what's wrong with my good brother? Roach chuckled lightly. Did you kill him? Not bad, then you're done. Do you want to report to the police? Do you want to stop me? Do you want to kill someone and silence me? No way. Gu Qingzhou gave a cold smile. Before finishing a sentence, Gu Qingzhou suddenly felt dizzy in his mind and shook his head vigorously. However, the double shadow in front of him became even more severe, and he vaguely saw the mischievous smile of the thief. You change. Bang. The next moment, her eyes darkened and she collapsed on the table. I don't know how long it took, but Gu Qingzhou woke up dizzy and confused, his eyes blank. After more than 10 seconds, he woke up a bit and saw Rocky sitting by the bed. He spoke up and asked, did you really kill Rocky? From then on, it can be seen that the relationship between the two is really good, and they are worried about their husband even though they are in dire straits. Roche reached out and brushed the hair off her face. Don't touch me. Gu Qingzhou was full of disgust and wanted to stay away from Luo Qi, only to find himself tied up. You wicked thief. Bastard. Animal. What do you want? Roche nodded solemnly. Gu Qingzhou was taken aback, feeling ashamed and angry, struggling hard. You're shameless. You're despicable. You're vulgar.